Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshak here. We're going to be going over a tier list for the mercenaries, going over which ones you should probably target to level up first or maybe utilize in your team comps. I feel comfortable making this because we did make it to top 5 like MMR legend in mercenaries. The first 2 days it was out. We played a bunch of different comps, a bunch of meme comps, and somehow we were just doing really well. And yeah, top 5 feels pretty good. So with that, let's take a look at the mercenaries we have. I'll be rating them from S to D, D being the worst, S being the best. There are still some mercenaries that I have not played with, but I have seen them played and I know what they do. Starting with Garrosh, I've seen him in a couple comps. I think he's actually better when we can get a bunch of orcs out. And right now, that's not really a team comp that we can do with just a limited merc pool. So I think B for now, but I think he could get better over time if there's like more of like an orc tank comp that comes around in the future. Uther, I think, is a great blue unit. He also has a really good first ability. It's very, very fast, does a decent amount of damage, and slows your opponent, which is always something you want to do in this game. Interrupting your opponent's speeds makes it so their game plan doesn't execute like it wants, and you get to build yours at a little bit more of an advantage. Brokon is broken. He works really well with basically any sort of nature comp. He scales, and he's got a relatively decent amount of attack and health for a blue unit. A lot of the popular tanks right now utilize nature. I mean, just looking at Karen, he has like a war stomp that scales off nature as well, which has a pretty fast speed. So Brokon, in my opinion, is very, very, very good. Looking at Gromash, a lot of people play Gromash and think he's really, really good. I still think he's okay, maybe a little bit better than Garrosh, but still, it's between A and B. I'll throw him in A right now just because of the limited merc pool. Yeah, for the time being, I think A is fine, just given the limited merc pool. I think Malfurion for nature, I think he goes somewhere in like, again, between the A and the B. He scales with nature, but the problem is he doesn't actually have an attack. Most of his stuff is spell-based, so if you buff Malfurion, he doesn't do any attacks. Most of the brawlers or red champions, they actually do something that involves them attacking. And while Malfurion, most of his stuff, like he can root an enemy, which is pretty good, and he does speed up spells, which is pretty good, but the problem is he has no attack spells, and the only healing spell that he has is really fucking slow. I don't think Malfurion is the greatest, but he's not bad. Wrath, dude, there's no demons. I don't think he's the worst, but he's down there. There's just no demons right now. So like, I wanted to build an infinite demon Draxus comp kind of thing, but there's just not enough support for it right now, and there's just better units. So yeah, unfortunately Wrath is gonna go down there. See, all the Murlocs are trash. I don't know what they were thinking with releasing absolutely pointless heroes, but Mutanus is a fantastic, very fun card in standard mode. Unfortunately for mercenaries, he is absolutely poo-poo doo-doo. Yo guys, what's going on? I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm really hoping you're enjoying the content. If you are, please make sure to sub, like, and comment on the videos. Over 50% of you who are watching this content aren't subbed, and it really hurts the channel. In order for us to grow and me to keep doing what I love, I gotta get your guys' support on this. If you guys watch, to make sure you support those videos in the channel. Thanks for watching, of course, and enjoy the next game. For Illidan, I'm going to throw this guy at A just because, first of all, if he attacks the left or rightmost minion, he gets extra attack, and he's a green unit. A lot of people are playing the blue units right now, so he does a ton that way. Also, his second ability allows him to attack 2 units, and if it deaths, it heals. And right now, healing is first really good, and basically the ability to attack twice is really good. So Illidan has both those things. He has the possible heal, and he basically can attack twice on his second turn. So Illidan, very, very good. Honestly, the Fang, I think a lot of people are undervaluing this guy. I don't think he's as good as Illidan, but he's like a very great support card because of his whirlwind ability. So it works with stuff like Gruul. It works with stuff like Samaro. So a lot of people are playing like Blade Master Samaro with Zorelia, which is a great opener. But if Zorelia dies, then you can whip out the Fang, and then you go and use his whirlwind, and then the Blade Master can still get a proc off, which is really good. So I think he's great. He's more of a support though than like big damage. Zorelia, that's going to be tier S for me. Her first ability is insane. The fact that she can reduce enemies' attack down and do damage, and it occurs, it's like a super fast like 3 speed, is just pretty nuts in my opinion. So Tyrion is a massive support guy. It's weird that he would be a green unit because green are normally like, you know, bruisers and brawlers, and they want to get in there and fight, but Tyrion is a support. And honestly, he's pretty good. From what I've seen, a couple comps utilizing him and his divine shields, he is a very, very solid unit. Again, just because of the small pool of cards we're going to have right now, I'll throw him into an A. Over time, he may dip down to a B, but at the moment, I think he's a pretty damn solid unit. Rome, I think this guy is trash. Every time I've ever played somebody with this person in their deck, they've lost. So, and I couldn't tell you even what he does. Like, that's how, like, champions that do shit and I'm like, oh my god, what was that? I look at it, I read it, and I like, okay, that makes sense. This guy, every single person who's ever had this in their deck, he's done so little that I haven't even cared to know what he does. He's not as bad as Mutanus, but just don't, I don't know, man. I got no hope for that guy. Varden, I think over time, Varden will get better and the freezing comps will get better. And again, as we get more and more heroes, we'll have better things to pick from and more synergies to be unleashed. So I'll give Varden the benefit of the doubt and throw him in B just because I like him and his abilities are pretty cool. And the fact that he hits everybody is really nice. Brightwing, super underutilized. Brightwing's insane. People are going to overlook just the fact that he doesn't have some really flashy AoE as a blue unit or some sort of like infinite scaling. But his Q ability, not only does it scale with nature with Brokon, but it buffs a unit in your deck. A lot of units benefit from being buffed. Again, King Crush, Gromosh, the bigger they are, it's just very, very hard to deal with them, and Brightwing does it very, very well. I mean, most of the time, Brightwing's going to attack before everybody else. Also, his recall is super annoying. Tavish, I think this card is absolutely horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I didn't realize how horrible he is until I played with him. And for Mukla, I don't think this guy is that great. I play him in a couple of my comps just because I like the bananas. If you buff the bananas, he's actually pretty good, but there are just better red units overall than King Mukla, and you don't really need him right now. Like, there's just better units. So maybe over time when like a beast comp comes around, he will be better because he is a beast and he's not bad, but right now you don't need his beast tag, so he's kind of pointless. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some beast comps running around, but they're just not very good. Blade Master, I think this guy is just really good. The fact that, again, he can attack twice and he gains attack is just good. And the minions that synergize with him are also good. So not only do you have good cards that synergize with good cards, so you have good cards in general that synergize with other good cards, which makes them really good cards. So that is quite nice. War Master, unfortunately, dragons aren't that great. Again, minion pool small, not a ton of dragons to pick from, but over time, War Master could see a decent amount of play, but right now, there's just not enough support. Antonidas, I really like Antonidas. I would like to put him into A, but I don't think he's an A. The Fireball is a speed 4 and it just does a huge chunk of damage. I have a burn comp with Antonidas in it with Baron and Rag, and it does really, really well, but I don't think it's the best, but Antonidas is definitely not bad. Millhouse, again, he scales, which is why I want to put him in A, but at the same time, he's really, really easy to kill. So just because he's really good in PvE and he's good in PvP, I'm gonna put him up here in A. And the fact that he scales is really, really nice, and he has an AoE and single target, which is really, really nice, and it's not too hard to protect him because there's a shit ton of taunt minions out there. So I will put Millhouse in A just for the pure fact that if he's left unchecked, he'll just kill your opponent. Anything just left unchecked that just kills shit is pretty good, and that's why Brokon is so good. The only difference between Brokon and Millhouse is Brokon has way more stats. Millhouse has no attack and no health. Brokon has a pretty decent attack and pretty decent health. So Alexstrasza, she's going to be a dragon. I'm just going to put her down here right below the worst units just because, again, dragons don't really have a ton of uses. Jaina, gonna put her in the B as well just because I haven't seen a ton of the Frost Ellie stuff and there's just not enough support with it. If Jaina becomes good, Varden becomes good. If Varden becomes good, Jaina comes good. You guys get where I'm going at here. Guff. So Guff is only good if you buff Guff, and then Guff can kill stuff. So if you can line up the attacks with this Guff, Guff is a tier S minion. If Guff can make, like, if he can kill 2 champions in your PvP match, Guff is the best minion on your team. If Guff doesn't kill anybody on your opponent's side, he's a tier D minion. So I'm going to put him right here in the middle and assume that he will maybe kill 1 unit and you'll find some use for him. But unfortunately, I tried to make Guff work in a lot of my nature comps, and I just couldn't get this guy. Like, my opponent knows if you're running Guff, you don't want your minions to die to Guff. So they'll go out of their way to kill their own minions or to make sure their minions are dead before Guff can attack. And his attack is like it's like a 7 speed. It's so fucking slow. So if Guff had a little bit faster attack, maybe like a 5 speed, he would be a tier A or tier S minion. But because his speeds are so slow, but his abilities are good, he never gets a chance to use them. So Just don't think he's that great. Going under the demon spot, again, Wrath was a C. I'm putting Manaroth down at a C as well. If demons get better, we've got more synergies or just better minions or just better equipment over time, or a new composition that like utilizes them and they're good in the meta, sure, but at the moment, not really that great. Tyrande, seen a lot of people play her. She's not bad, she's not great. That puts her in basically the B area. Pretty standard minion. Cutter Butter, seen a lot of people play this guy. Personally, I don't like him, but his stealth mechanic is not too shabby, so I'm gonna again put him in B. Not a huge fan of him just because he doesn't do anything that crazy. Like, you want people who synergize with other people that overall makes your team comp stronger. And when you have people like Scabs who have like stealth, and there's not very many things that currently combo with stealth or work with stealth, and he just then only does damage and his stats aren't like super competitive, it's kind of just like you just got better options. I think Prophet Velen is very, very good. I'd put him between S and A just because there's a lot of blue great heroes, as we can see here, and his team comp, you can't just throw him in anything. So honestly, I'll throw him in A, but I do think he has some right to be an S as well. Sylvanas, I think, is a pretty decent blue unit. She does a lot of damage left unchecked, and a lot of people in this meta right now are playing blue champions. Granted, look where most of these blue champions are. They're B or better. So when a lot of the mages are being thrown out there, you might see a lot of the green units pumping out as well. Thrall, I think this guy is an A as well. Once this guy, like right now, I'm not putting him to S because no one has Doomhammer yet, and it's hard to tell how good Doomhammer will be. For those of you who don't know what Doomhammer is, it's one of his equipments that give him extra attack and Wind Fury. So I have yet to see somebody with this because it's just so expensive and it's hard to get. But once people start getting Doomhammer and people start playing Thrall in like an orc deck, all of a sudden Garrosh starts to getting a lot better because he buffs the orcs, and then Thrall is an orc and he's gonna have Wind Fury and plus attack, and Thrall is gonna be able to pump out like 60 to 80 damage in one turn. So again, a lot of this depends on the meta and how it pans out. Right now he's an A, but if you have him, he's a good choice to level up as well. Varian, I have not seen much of him. Every person I've ever seen play this guy, he kind of just dies. So I'm gonna put him down here at C just because I haven't, like, he goes in a human comp, and I've seen a human comp run Varian, but he's never been an issue for me, and he wouldn't be my first pick to start leveling up. Draxus, same boat. Draxus goes into the C's until the demons get better. That's where Draxus goes. Murgle goes where the other Murlocs go, in the trash section. Ragnaros, honestly, I like Rag, but his only really great ability is his first one, and he works again with the Antonidas, Baron, and Ragnaros. So I think those all work together. Rockthera, she goes to C. Garbage. Karen, he's an S tier unit in my opinion. He has a really good first attack, he has a taunt, and he has an AoE. Works for me. Lady Anacondria, she goes to B. There's just better blue units. Looking at Illidan, looking at Tyrion, looking at Sylvanas. Like, she has like a snake bite, and she has like summon a beast, and she has like heal a beast and give it health, but her stats are really not super competitive. And the fact that like her first ability does the damage also at the end of the turn as well makes it so that it doesn't kill the unit, which means your opponent gets off an extra attack, and I would rather do more damage and my opponent not die than do less damage and then do more damage later, if that makes sense. Like, why? Like, you just want to kill your opponent's unit, you don't want to have to wait. Lich King, tier S. He has a lot of great abilities. There's a lot of counterplay within his abilities, and he's just a chunky boy. King Crush, dude, I honestly really like King Crush, so I want to put him to A, but he should go to B just because his abilities, you're going to click the same one every single turn, and that's basically just his first one, which if he kills a unit, he attacks again. And because, again, of all of the mages we're seeing in this meta, I really would like to put him into A, but I know over time he will be not as good, but I'm still gonna put him into A because I think King Crush is good, and especially if you buff King Crush, he'll just shit on people. Blink Fox, I think she's C right now. She has a lot of potential in the future, but there's just not enough good stuff at the moment. Looking at Baron, I really think Baron is good. He goes into a lot of fire comps. Problem is, there is not a shit ton of fire comps right now, so I'm gonna put him down to B, just because, again, he works with Antonidas and he works with Rag. That's like my opener right now is those three, so I'm not gonna really put one higher than the rest, but Baron is, in my opinion, a little bit better than the other ones just because of his AoE is pretty insane. Looking at the Murloc, it's absolutely trash. Again, all the Murlocs are bad. Anduin is going to be a tier S for me. This is an easy Anduin tier S. Anduin does damage, he does it fast, and he heals himself. Hyper annoying. Hyper annoying. Anduin is very, very good. Just like in standard mode, Priest is annoying. Mercenaries, Anduin is super fucking annoying. We have Diablo. El Diablo! He's gonna go into the A. The longer I've played with Diablo, the less I like him. Just because his War Stomp, unless you speed it up, it's very, very slow, and most of the time it's only gonna hit like once, maybe twice. His first ability really isn't that great, and his last ability, Apocalypse, that's not very slow, unless you have some sort of great comp that speeds up, that focuses on Apocalypse with Diablo. You don't need to, like, it's just, there's other things that do other things that are just better in most situations, while Diablo's abilities are good in certain situations and your opponent can play around them. I don't want to say pretty well, but they're not the hardest, but he's just a beefy boy. He's going up into tier A just because he's a huge chunky man and he does do a lot of damage, but his abilities aren't really the strongest, but it doesn't make him any less chunky. Curtis, I honestly don't like this guy at all. I played with him quite a bit. He's really only for targeting demons. So if your opponent doesn't really have any demons, he doesn't really do anything. Tamsin, I think she's pretty average. She does shadowy things and she summons a shadowy dude, but most of the time these games are so quick that like summoning extra units and like trying to buff them, like when AoE is hitting the board for like 30 damage and the unit has like 15 health, you like used your turn to summon something that's just gonna die immediately. So you basically did nothing that turn. Gul'dan, in my opinion, tier A. He has more health than any blue unit out there, and he does a lot of damage. Currently, there's just not a great way to scale shadow damage right now. Natalie, she'll just go in the middle here. I haven't seen a ton of people play with her. She is another shadow card, so she works with Rome. She works with the Vulgin. Moving to Gruul, he goes into the C units. Again, he targets dragons. Dragons aren't popular, so nobody's going to play dragons, so therefore you don't play Gruul. Vulgin, I think he's pretty good, but he's not great. Again, works with shadow stuff, has a couple of decent abilities, and isn't terrible, but isn't like what stands out to me. Rome, in my opinion, this is like a tier A champion. She has a taunt, which is hyper annoying. She has a heal, which is hyper annoying, and it gives attack. And she has a decent attack herself. Most of the time, you're never going to use that. You're just going to fluctuate between taunt, heal, and gain attack. A lot of comps run her, and the taunt's just annoying because any person that has attack an enemy, they're going to have to attack Rome first because she has taunt. And she gets healed every turn, and she gets healed a lot depending on what level you have that up to. So she's good in PvP in my opinion, and she's good in PvE. So she goes into A. And then we have Rexxar. I honestly haven't seen a ton of Rexxar, and that's because he goes into a beast comp because he summons a beast and he does more damage if you have a beast out, which doesn't really sound that bad. But the problem is beasts right now, it's not the best, but he is good. He's of the beast stuff, you would run a beast composition just for Rexxar. So we'll go ahead and we'll put Rexxar a little bit above some of the other beasts that we have, just because he does stand above. And at any point in time, I think beasts need like one more good unit, maybe two, and have them not be green. So like have a blue or a red beast unit, and then we'll be talking. Out of the tier S, we have 4 blues, 2 reds, and 1 green. So blues are definitely standing out above the rest in just regards to power level in this meta. So we may see some shifts here soon where we have, you know, King Crush and maybe beast units taking out the blue units. We'll have to see. But after many hours of playing and at a fairly decent level in the game, this is what I've seen and this is my opinion on it. And if this gives you any indication of which heroes to level up first or compositions that you could possibly make based on what you see here, glad to have helped. If you have any other things to say, feel free to leave that in a comment section below. This game is very new, so I'm consuming as much information as possible, whether it be from Reddit or comment sections of other videos that I've been watching about it. And yeah, as always guys, thank you for watching. I'm Robert Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.